Let me tell you a parable, because I feel that people are much more willing to go to a movie they think is going to be mediocre than they are willing to go to a movie that they think is going to be good. It's wrong to believe that people want to go to good movies. They're very suspicious of good movies. They're very willing to go to midstream movies. And I got a call once at the Sun-Times, more than 20 years ago, from a reader who said, we're going to the movies tonight, and in the Wilmette Theater near our home, they're playing Cries and Whispers by Ingmar Bergman. What can you tell us about that movie? And I said, well, I think it's the best movie of the year. And the reader said, oh, that doesn't sound like anything we'd like to see. And that is so true.
I know that does happen.
When
I know
you tell
that's happened. People say Sense and Sensibility just sounds too weird for me.
You say, Breaking the Waves is the strongest emotional experience I've had at the movies in 6 months, with a brilliant performance by Emily Watson. And they'll say, oh, good. What do you think about Jerry Maguire?
So what do you think? Do you agree with Roger Ebert?
The late, great Roger Ebert.
The great Raj.
Yeah, well, I do think his example is very funny, Breaking the Waves versus Jerry Maguire, because I know both of those movies, and if I were going to go see a movie with some friends some night, I would absolutely choose Jerry Maguire, because Breaking the Waves is a Lars von Trier movie. It's brutal. It involves the main character's brutalization. It's, not a fun outing with your buds. It's just not. So his particular example, I'm yeah, I kind of would go to the more mid film in that case over the one that's clearly got higher artistic merit. I don't know. What do you think?
1, 2, 3. This is the Insufferable. Welcome to the Insufferable Bastards.
Welcome to the Insufferable Bastards podcast.
We're the Insufferable Bastards.
What do you think that instinct is? Do you think it's just it's usually not just you in the way that you would read a novel going to a movie, right? So you have to have more movies that are for a general audience that includes older people, kids, people from different sides of the spectrum, whatever. Or do you think is that just your preference? You're when I hear there's a great movie, I don't want to see that. I want to see.
I wouldn't know.
I want to see the mid-list movies.
I wouldn't say that that's true across the board. It's more that particular example is just knowing both those movies. One of them is much more it lends itself to a fun social outing. Breaking the Waves you might want to watch on your own, or with a very particular person who is up for that kind of experience. So I think, I don't know, going to the movies, for me, often there's a strong social component to it. I want to go with, friends or my husband, and we're going to talk about it after. And so it really depends who I'm going with. I do go to movies by myself sometimes, and then I probably would choose differently. But I don't know. How do you also because since we're both parents of young children, you have to be so choosy about which movies you're actually going to go see in the theater, because it's going to involve paying a babysitter, right? So how do you make those decisions?
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes it's more fun to whether the movie's good or bad. So, my wife and I had more fun talking about terrible movies. We used to go to the movies every week. We would walk to the theater, and it was fun because 9 times out of 10 it was terrible. And we would just laugh and quote the lines, and it was way more fun. And I remember one time we saw a good movie. I can't even remember what it was. It was a pretty good movie. I don't know how arty it was, but we had no conversation. We were on the way back. We were wow, that was powerful. And we're both just kind of sitting there going, yeah. So we had that happen a few times, and we just laughed because we thought oh, maybe we enjoy the more terrible movies. And there's actually kind of a culture of people going to B movies, they go to B horror movies because it's
a huge thing.
It's fun. It's just more fun thing to do with your buddies. If you want to have a Lars von Trier experience, and you can certainly have that because I remember seeing, oh my God, Melancholia was a great movie, but it was
It's
depressing as
great.
hell.
Yeah.
I remember Nymphomaniac is like, be very careful. Have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't seen that one. I have seen
Oh my
Melancholia.
God.
I've not seen.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Close up shots of Prudenda.
Oh my
Very,
goodness.
very graphic scenes that are just, I don't even know how he did this. And I actually saw it when I was in Morocco I bought
Oh
it
wow.
for like 50 cents at some. And the guy was like, "You don't want to watch this. This is no good."
Even the Moroccan guy knew.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was like, okay. And but yeah, like 4.5 hours of this, just like
Jeez.
I don't even call it a sexual romp. It was very like intense, explicit experience. But at least it made you kind of think, and like I prefer
For
that kind of
sure.
thing. Think
Yeah.
about film. But am I gonna go with and literally anybody else in my life who isn't also like a film person, you know?
Right.
No.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. So I think it
You
depends on
you
that.
have
It
to have that middle.
depends. Yeah. It depends whether you're going by yourself or you're going with someone or, but do you find do you think you have like a higher tolerance for lousy movies than you do for like a lousy novel? Because I definitely do.
Way higher. Way
Way
higher.
higher,
In
right?
fact,
Yeah.
it's kind of rare. It's kind of rare that a movie will be so bad. I only walked out on one movie and it was Pineapple Express. Did you ever see Pineapple Express?
I never made it all the way
Steph
through.
is
I started watching it. No, I mean, similarly, I think I was watching it with someone or at a party or I don't know. And I was just like, okay, I get it. And I just like, couldn't.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was a million years ago and I was there with family, it was the same kind of thing. And they're like, oh, Pineapple Express, a comedy, silly, dumb comedy. And all right, there was a bookstore next door. And I sat through 5 minutes. I literally just got up and left because I was like, this is not only is this not funny, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm in pain. I'm in
Yeah.
pain watching this.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I've ever done that because in a mediocre movie or like a bad movie, there's often stuff that's still it's still kind of fun in a way.
Yeah.
You might laugh at it,
Yeah.
But with a novel, I cannot bear.
No.
I can't bear stuff that isn't just what I want, really.
No, I feel the same. Like I can like get into not very good movies, not very good TV shows, sort of like sometimes like meaningless kind of pop music, whatever. But if it's a novel, I have no tolerance. And I guess it's because it's like, well, it's an experience that's like asking more of you. It takes more time and you're doing it alone.
Mhm.
Whereas like a lousy B movie, you're like laughing about it with your friends. It's so much more of a communal thing. Like, I mean that, and that's what I love about the movies is the communal aspect of it. And that's why I love going to movie theaters and like often feel concerned about the idea that they might be kind of dying out in favor of streaming.
Yeah, you do that a
So,
lot, don't you? You encourage people to go to the actual theater.
yes,
I
go
noticed that
go.
about
It's
yeah.
such a great experience. It's like you're
You'll
dreaming
be like
together or
get off
something.
your ass and go to the theater.
Yes.
You'll say stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And
I'm like
when I
I'm
hear
like at
someone
home and I'm
go,
like watching Netflix and I'm like, Ashley, be mad at me because I just
but
don't
when
do
you
that
have
anymore.
little kids, it's different. It's different. It's very difficult. But like I have
Yeah.
a lot of people in my life who don't have children or anything, and they just are like, I tell them about a movie, and they're like, okay, I'll wait for it to come out on streaming. I'm like, no, go to the movies.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, we have so much fun going to theaters. And if honestly, if
great.
we were younger and we didn't have kids, we would still
Yeah.
be doing that.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Do you think movies or film or both, movies or novels or both are worse than they were, say, 50 years ago? Do you think quality in general of the mid list of like, not your, and there's always going to be whatever, your Triers and your Pynchons and stuff, and they're doing amazing things. But in terms of like the average consumption content, do you think it's a lower quality than say 50 years ago?
I think I'll say it. One that I do think is lower quality is just like the R rated adult drama.
Mm.
I just, I think they're really few and far between now. And there used to be, I feel like, a lot of pretty good quality dramas for grown-ups. You had a lot to choose from, and they weren't all-time classics, but they were really engaging. And maybe had one or two interesting things to say. I think those are harder to find out in favor of, like, what
Mhm, mhm.
IP, right? Like, just banking on
Absolutely.
like remaking, and I wrote about this in Jacobin. I was writing about YA literature, but I was writing also about like the sort of juvenile direction that a lot of things have gone. And you just have a lot of adults consuming things, movies, books, adults
Mhm,
literally like
mhm.
playing Legos and going to Disney World and whatever that are intended for children. And so I do think that has changed, and like maybe that's reflected in literature as well. What do you think? Are we worse off in
Yeah,
that
I think
way?
I think I mean, the refrain is always, "Things were always bad." I think Margaret Atwood said somewhere, 95% of art has always been trash. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's almost an exact quote, what she said.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, people getting, that people blowing things out of proportion, being sticklers, you just have to remember that as Alan Gargana said, the turkeys get weeded out
Mm-hmm.
and the good stuff makes it, sticks around.
Right.
However, at the same time, I actually wrote a piece for Real Clear Books where I talked precisely about writers as language obsessives. And there was this
Mm-hmm.
little essay in that piece that Leonard Michaels, who nobody really reads anymore, but he's a great writer.
I like Leonard Michaels. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, um, and he wrote this little essay just about the word relationship.
Mm.
And he was analyzing the word, the history of the word, what it replaced, these much better words like romance or beau or fling or whatever.
Yeah.
Why we needed it. Why in the beginning it first appears in the Dunciad in in the 1780s or whatever.
Oh.
So Alexander Pope invents this word, and it becomes this kind of clinical term, and it was actually first invented as a joke, as a kind of insult. Like, it wasn't really meant to
Huh.
be used in a significant way.
Yeah.
And now it's the word that everybody uses, and he sort of analyzes its etymological history. And you're reading this and you're like, no writer is doing this now. Maybe I'm wrong. I would like to be wrong, but I'm like, I look at the kind of language that's used and here's the thing. It's not even just the mid books, the mid list, whatever, kind of disposable airport or genre or whatever.
Right.
It's the serious books, the ones that win
Yes.
these major prizes. There's this attenuation.
Yeah.
And you look at the language and it's just it's very thin. It's like, you and I talked about this before. It's like it lacks a certain density. There's just
Yes.
there's this lack of density. There's this overall kind of weakness. And
Yes.
in one place where this came up was we had a discussion about an old novel from the 30s that
Mhm.
won an award called City for Conquest by Aben Kendall.
Mhm.
Now, we had a funny conversation with a guy, good old Carl Wenclass, founder of New Pop Lit, whatever that
Uh-huh.
is. But he thinks, and others probably think, that people should be reading this kind of book again. So I went back
Yeah.
and I read some of it because I was curious. I'm not going to buy the book and read the whole thing.
Right.
It's actually quite a big book. But here's the kind of, in my view, like dense bad writing that we used to have, as
Mhm.
opposed to. So this is how the book opens. Across Manhattan, a lean wind blows, a late August wind, eastward out of the Hudson. It's a wiry, muscular island, Manhattan is, from the south very tip, where the Ellis Island boats disgorge the green horns to the gash, cut by the Harlem River where the fat Bronx begins. It juts out like an unruly thumb in the clenched fist that is New York. It's a gun pointed at the Atlantic. The town is sore from growing pains, gripe from overeating, raw-knuckled from pummeling, sore from being bled, angry as a cinnamon bear in spring.
Right. So dense is not necessarily a good thing.
Dense doesn't save you.
No. No.
But
And
I have to say,
Yeah.
Go on.
No, the question that comes to my mind is like, what is a cinnamon bear? And it makes me think of Teddy Grahams, like the snack.
Right.
um,
I've started just calling things cinnamon bear whenever I don't
cinnamon
like
bear,
something. I'm like, fucking cinnamon bear.
cinnamon bear. Yeah.
Overriding purple writing. And you
Yeah.
can see what he's doing. It was the 30s or the 40s whenever this was written. He's kind of
Right.
imitating like radio. That's why I was kind of doing making it like a radio style. It's like a
Doing
radio
your
voice,
Walter
very hard.
Winchell. Yeah.
Yeah, like very hard boiled. I'm in New
Yeah.
York. There's
Right.
a gun pointing at your head. And then there's this random cinnamon bear, which is like almost like this, I don't know, effete flourish.
It
It's
is.
a little weird.
It really is.
And you're like, maybe there's a cinnamon bear. There's a whole journey for this cinnamon bear. I don't know. I'm curious. But I'm not going to read it because
right. You'd have to read the book to find out.
It's a density that I think people expected up to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
That point would be like the spread of MFAs, the spread of the internet.
Yeah.
I don't think it's one thing. I'm not going to be like MFAs did it. And I say that in my article. It's not MFAs.
Right.
It's not just technology. It's a whole list of things. It's neoliberalism.
Yeah.
It's like we've had a certain loss of faith in the kind of the future, in the country. We don't really know where we stand as a people. And so we've got this kind of much simpler kind of goop, I feel like. There are great books as always, but it's just more, it's harder to get away from that style.
Do you think people are like less motivated to take a big swing? Like to be
I'm not sure. Be really like voice driven like this guy?
Yeah, to just have like to have a sort of epic sweep or I don't know. Like, I mean, I was kind of thinking about this when I wrote for your Substack about flash fiction, about the rise of flash fiction and more people writing it and more places publishing it. And now, like, so often when you're looking for literary journals to submit work to, they're like, we're having a flash contest and no more than 1,000 words or whatever. And I just feel like there are great short, first of all, I hate the term flash fiction. It's a short story. Just call it a short story. And there are really great, like short stories out there, but
Lydia Davis or whatever.
Yeah, but they're really hard
with a bunch of really short pieces.
Yeah, totally. But they're very difficult to do, and I think people are doing it for perhaps the wrong reasons, and it's like a sort of lack of ambition or a fear or a reluctance to like take the big swing. Flash fiction yeah.
It also feels like a really cynical, like people don't have attention anymore. And
right. Yeah. Let's cater to that, which is like, no, don't cater to that.
I don't even really believe it. I read something a little while ago that was like, this whole thing about people losing attention actually isn't true. And here's why. There was some study that was done. And it's like, I don't know. Well, I do get distracted by things in the news and maybe social media. But then I sit down and I read a book. I don't know. I don't feel like personally the biggest distraction for me was having a child. You can't sleep. You don't have time for the things for a while. I mean, it's really changing now. He just turned 5. But for a while it was like, Jesus, you try really hard to find time to do the things I love, to read. I end up staying up to like 1 a.m. because I just want time to myself to find something to do, to read something, finish a book or whatever. But the internet, like, it just sort of, it's a time killer. You're at the dentist, you're at work. I mean, let's be real. Most people don't do anything at work 80% of the time, so they're on social media. That's true. Driving a lot of this.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard, okay, well, here's what I think though is legit. I've heard, I mean, I don't know how you actually measure what's happening with people's attention spans, but I read this thing about like the idea of tolerance for boredom, and the writer used this term micro boredom, which is like when you're waiting in line at the store, right? Or I should say, I'm a New Yorker. I should say when you're waiting online. That's what we say. But when you're waiting online somewhere and it's taking a long time, and and you start so now without even thinking about it. I mean, at least I do. I'll speak for myself. I like pull out my phone. Has anyone
Yeah.
messaged me? Anything, but it used to be
Sure.
like you would just
All the
sit there
time.
and you had to tolerate the boredom. And then maybe what happened in those moments was your mind wandered and you were thinking about things and you were alone with your thoughts. And maybe if you're a creative person, perhaps that's a time where you are thinking about something you're working on or getting ideas or whatever. And we're not like allowing ourselves that anymore. And I do think that must be having an effect on people. Whether that has
You think it's
anything
like a
to do,
major effect, though? Do you think it's like a major effect it's having?
I don't
I don't know.
know.
Maybe
I don't know.
because like I think about that all the time too, because I've heard the same thing. Like boredom is actually important.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't put something in front of our son all the time because we want him to figure something out.
Yeah.
So that'll be very uncomfortable. But it's like, dude, I'm not putting you in front of the TV. I'm not gonna sit around and mess around with you because I'm busy. So you're
Yeah.
just gonna have to figure it out. And he
Yep.
might cry a little bit. He doesn't really anymore because he knows the deal. But he'll go outside and he'll I see him in the grass, like looking at the, you
Mhm.
know, the ants and the worms, and like
Yeah.
he'll find flowers. He brings in a flower, gives it to his mom. He climbs a tree.
Sweetie.
He goes in the swing, whatever. We have this huge yard. Luckily, I mean, most people
Yeah.
don't have a yard that can accommodate like that kind of entertainment. But we have like swings out there, and so we just got lucky with that. But like, and for me too, when I was a kid, I had the same thing. So this is one of the main things I wanted when we got a house was
Yeah.
space like that, because that was where I went and kind of daydreamed, and
Yeah.
maybe that's important in some sense. But
I think daydreaming is important. And
I don't
yes.
think at the bank or whatever on the toilet is where, where it happens.
Yeah, I guess not. But are
Like,
people allowing
yeah,
themselves, like, I remember when I was a teenager, just like laying on the floor of my bedroom, playing
uh-huh.
CDs and burning incense, 90s, and just like watching the smoke kind of waft up to the ceiling and like listening to my music and not doing anything
Oh
else. And it
yeah,
was like
totally,
my
totally.
something was happening in my brain, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah. I remember I got
yeah.
Miles Davis "Kind of Blue" when I was like maybe 14 or 15,
Mm-hmm.
and I must have listened. I wore that CD out. I came
Mm-hmm.
home. I did the same thing. I just would lie in my bed and I listened to that over and over and over.
Yeah.
Maybe kids aren't doing this anymore. I
I
doubt
don't
it.
know.
I
Yeah.
think they are, but like I'm not going to deny that social media and the internet isn't taking up our time in a negative way. But
Yeah.
I just think there's more to the story, is all I could say. I haven't, none of us have like gone in and done a research project on this. So how do we know? But I do
Right.
think people's attention spans are only 6 seconds is overstated. It's not really true.
Right.
And movies are actually longer now. They used to be a
Yes,
good
they're
120 minutes.
they're too long now.
Or like hour and 20 minutes. I mean, now they're over 120 minutes, 2
Yep.
hours,
Yep.
2 to 3 hours. You go to some bullshit Marvel movie and then you're like 3 hours.
It's
What
like
am I
3
doing? What-
hours. And then when you add in the trailers and
Yeah.
and
And dinner, you're talking like 4 to 5 hours of, you know what I mean?
it's crazy.
An outing of a long outing. But
Yep.
so I don't know. I just think like I have this like hard seed of optimism
Mm-hmm.
deep inside my pessimistic New England soul.
That's beautiful.
That people are reading. People appreciate good novels and good movies and great poetry. It's just there's maybe some more obstacles in the way and things you have to kind of sort through to
Yes.
get there.
Yes. No, I think so. I mean, like these two horror movies, Backrooms and Obsession. I mean, I won't spend much time on it because it's been talked about a lot, but they are both really massive, like way beyond what I think the studios were anticipating or anyone was anticipating. And like these aren't, like great works of art, but they're interesting original movies and made by very young people, and they're really big, and it just does seem somewhat encouraging that like lots of people want to go to something that is an original idea
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
I mean Obsession with like totally unknown actors. They're not they're from nowhere basically, and that seems good. I don't know. It's not
Sure.
Marvel. It's not, let's make another version of Spider-Man or something. or the movies that are based on products, which has been a whole thing, right? Like
Oh, I hate those.
those
Oh my
are
god. But
terrible.
um,
Yeah.
did you see you mentioned the movie Obsession to me, right?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah.
You liked it?
Yeah, I
Did
did.
I send you that Cass Sunstein review where he said not only is this the greatest movie of the year, it's the greatest movie ever.
That's psychotic. Is he serious?
It's dead serious.
Oh my god.
It was so strange. I don't know what he's talking about. And he provided a clip and he's like, this is the best clip in the movie. And it's the scene where they're at the restaurant and he goes, did you have cancer? And she goes, no, 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 no. And she feels
Yeah.
a little freak out.
Yeah.
Remember that scene? It's like a
Best
60-second
scene ever.
scene. And
Best
he goes,
scene ever
he
made.
goes, this is the best scene in the best movie in the world. So it's therefore the best scene. And I'm reading it and I'm like, Cass Sunstein? Cass Sunstein. Aren't you like an intelligent liberal lawyer guy? Like, weren't you in the a Obama administration or something? Like, isn't he a fairly serious guy with like a brain in the shoulders?
I
I
don't
was
know.
stunned by this.
I thought it was a fun time at the movies. Like it was a fun
not
night.
the best thing you've ever seen.
It was entertaining. It was genuinely very unsettling, and it had good performances, and there were a couple moments where I was like, oh, that's truly upsetting. And I mean, in a good way, you know? Yeah, I liked it.
I mean, I thought about seeing it because I heard it was like a kind of a thrilling psychological horror movie.
Yeah, just watch it on streaming.
Yeah, I'll just watch it on stream. I'm going to laze around with beer and watch it. I'm not going to go to the theater as you, the queen of movies, but
I'm the queen.
I might see
I'm the queen of movies.
Because the queen of the theater. And I do think theaters are important. They should be saved. My city, by the way, has the last DVD rental place. One of the last. There's like 6 or 10 left or something. And one of the last. And there was a big article about it a few years ago, and we were in there. Their store was in there because I know those guys. Great like tradition being lost because those guys showed me a lot of great movies.
Yeah.
I don't know that much about movies, but they were able to introduce me to stuff that I absolutely love that I never would have found otherwise. And they always had what I was looking for. It's just one of those little places that it's like one of those small bookstores that are really well curated, you know?
Yes, totally.
I'm seeing a lot of bigger bookstores that are like privately owned, and you're like, oh, great, a family, small time bookstore, great.
Yep.
But all they have is like the glossy new releases, and you're like, what are you guys doing? There's all this space, and it's just being wasted.
Yeah.
And then you go to like the really tiny place, it's like the size of a closet, and they somehow have everything that you want in there.
And weird shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how Videodrome is. It's called Videodrome.
Oh, it's called Videodrome? I love Cronenberg.
Yeah.
And they're run by like the equivalent of Comic Book Guy from Simpsons, right?
That's what those guys. They're all totally charming, nice guys. But we've had some funny conversations with them. We always we haven't been back in a long time, but we used to go like every single week. We went there.
That's so fun. When I first moved to New York, I lived in the East Village, and I would go to Kim's Video, and they were so mean. They were so mean. They made you feel like a piece of shit for whatever you were taking out. But that's great. I miss that.
They would judge your choices, you mean? They'd be like,
oh yeah.
Jerry Maguire, what are you thinking?
Right, Jerry Maguire, why aren't you watching Breaking the Waves? Yeah, they would. It was very funny. But we've talked about that, the need for those kind of people who are like extremely discriminating in their tastes and let you know it. Like that's delightful. Mm-hmm. So
it's important.
It is important.
And some of that has been lost, I would say. So I do think something has been lost, and it's not just because of screens, it's not just because of the economy, it's not just because of MFAs. I'm not going to point my finger at any one thing, but I have to say, you do see a loss of a kind of density and a loss of a kind of daring in really complex, voice-driven, dense stuff.
Yes.
People are turning to, and you see this in people turning to literature and translation for that.
Yes.
They'll read like Schadenfreude or whatever because they're like they're looking for something, or like Bolaño. I love
what was it called?
2666 was
Solenoid. Did you read Solenoid?
I didn't read so I have it, but I never ended up reading it. Should I? It's great. Okay. worth
It's a
worth the time. All right.
it's a wild fucking ride. It's crazy. Yeah.
I hear. I hear.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll finally crack it open. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I get those books too, because I'm like,
Yeah.
Knausgaard, he's writing
Yeah.
in whatever, Dano Norwegian or whatever that was. It's like these things become very popular in the US. There is a market
Yes.
for it where it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, look at these amazing, like overflowing, their cup overfloweth with language and
Right.
ideas. And it's like there is a group of people who want to read this stuff
Yes.
and they want to see these complex, dense movies. So why do we have to edge the even small amount of room these things had before in favor of big commercial, easy to understand, stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know why we can't have both, and it
Why
does
not
feel
both?
like that pressure, it's that general pressure from all of those things that have made that. And I agree with you about the adult dramas. They've made those
Yes.
things kind of harder to make. They've made sort of complex, really American novels that are dense and long, kind of hard to produce.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't need to be that way.
No, it
just need to
doesn't.
be that way.
It doesn't.
Sometimes that is reflected in the New Yorker
Yeah.
stories, I would say.
So speaking of work in translation, and speaking of writing that is not dense. So there's this story in the New Yorker called Many Worlds. And the writer, I may be mispronouncing their name, Aysegul Savas, Turkish writer. Forgive me.
That
if
was
that's
perfect pronunciation.
Was it? I
No, I have no idea.
I don't know either. I'm not. I mean, I do think it's shitty when you don't pronounce a person's name. I feel like we should learn how to pronounce people's names, but I obviously didn't for this. So, but
They'll survive.
yeah, they'll be okay. I came across it because Alice in Queens on Twitter, who I enjoy, was talking about how mediocre this story was. And so I looked at it and I didn't finish it because I did get very bored. The writing is really plain, really, really plain, and very zoomed out from its characters. It's what we would say in the creative writing teaching biz, too much telling. I mean, not that I'm against telling, right? Like, I think telling can be amazing. I heard this writer, this very eccentric writer named Howard Norman. I took this class with him once, and he said, if Moby Dick had no telling, it would be a haiku. So point well taken. But okay, so like, I'll just read a little bit of it.
Well, yes, please do, because I read some of it as well, and I just thought I'm not continuing with this.
It's just like very okay. So the two main characters.
It's like, hello, hi, how are you? What are you up to?
Exactly.
And he goes into the room. He closes the door.
Yeah, and the characters are a couple, Defna and Mete or Mite. I'm sorry. I should look up these pronunciations, but I didn't.
We apologize to the Turkish community of America for
no offense.
Our thousands of listeners.
If you want to call me like Alana Skubach, which a lot of people do, that's your prerogative. That's totally fine. I get it. But so they're Turkish. They had lived in the US for a while as graduate students, highly educated. They met there and then they've moved back to Turkey. So anyway, this is like just a little bit into the story. For half a decade, Defne and Mete had lived in and around San Francisco. It was a slight embarrassment to both of them that they'd met at a Turkish society fundraiser. They detested such events, the organized camaraderie, the explicit homesickness. They were both doctoral students in social sciences. They'd read far too much theory to be earnest about such things. They had mostly untangled the dogmas of their national education, and that meant doing away with any sentimental nationalism as well. But it was a fact that they were lonely. The researchers in their departments were engrossed in their own lives, and the city was impenetrable, intoxicated with its style. And so, whatever their misgivings, they had turned up at the event to be close to their countrymen. They stood next to each other during the welcome speech. Mette caught a sarcastic look on Daphne's face and leaned in to follow up with a joke. During dinner, they realized that they had both grown up in a Tyler and that they had attended sister high schools. But they were careful not to make too much of these coincidences. They resist. So, okay, right? Like, that's enough.
I'm like fascinating. I'm like falling asleep over here. He caught a sarcastic look. She followed up with a joke. It almost reads like a script for like a TV episode or something.
Like an outline for a story. Like, what's the
Yeah.
joke? What was the joke? What'd they say? I have no idea who these fucking people are.
He made a joke. She laughed.
Right.
Like, what the hell?
Right. And what does it mean that San Francisco is intoxicated with its style? What does that mean?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I thought of that too when you said that. I thought that was a strange line.
It's so like broad strokes. So anyway, if there's anything that actually happens in this story, I didn't have the patience to get to it because I was like, I just kept. I mean, talk about like maybe I'm spending too much time on social media and my attention span is shot. But like, I could not stay in this story. I couldn't.
No, it's boring. And it's too bad because, you know, the New Yorker used to have a cohort, a stall of writers that was just incredible. You know,
Yes.
Cheever got to start there, Updike,
Yes.
Nabokov published in there. And it was just like you could kind of reliably turn to it. Not every time, but, you know, Philip Roth had his first big story there and that like changed his life and career. He's going to be a lawyer. And then he gets this big story in the New Yorker. Now I feel like it's like a big who cares? Like you get your story in the New Yorker. I don't even know if that, I imagine it would change your life. Yes. I don't want to say that, but it feels like
maybe
the importance of this publication has kind of diminished with time because the quality is not there. The last big story was Cat Person, and I remember being like, "This is just it feels like a workshop story." I don't know. It just didn't seem it was. Yeah, it was not. It was not great in my view.
So
didn't they make a movie based on that?
They sure did. I don't know who saw it, but so I mean, the New Yorker does. I would say they do have a stable of writers now because I feel like I still subscribe to the New Yorker, and I feel like I always like open to the title, like the table of contents, like who wrote this month's or this week's fiction, and I feel like I'm just seeing the same names over and over again. And so, like, just looking at their some of their recent fiction. So, Ice Sigil Savas that I just read, Wakey Wang, Chang Rei Lee, Saeed. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce this name. I should look it up. I think it's an Iranian name. But I've seen all of these writers. Okay, and then like, Yi-Yun Lee, Claire Sestanovich is in there a lot. Tessa Hadley, Joseph O'Neill.
Sure.
So I feel like I see these names. Oh, they had Nell Zink. I mean, that's a little different. But shout out to Joan Silber. She's fantastic. They published her story last November. And I love her. And they've only published her twice, but she's fantastic. But I do feel like I see these names over and over again in the New Yorker. And so yeah, they have a stable of writers like the way they did with like Cheever and Updike, but I don't know anyone who reads these writers. Do you?
No, I don't either. Nope. And it does feel like I do think they used to reach into the slush a lot more. I mean, that was how Salinger, for example, got discovered. Philip Roth was just sending his stories in. You know, there's stories of these guys getting rejected a dozen times or whatever. I think some of them would send in like 4 or 5 times a year back when you could do that. I don't know, maybe you can now. I don't know. But just every time you get a rejection, you send a new one. But now it does feel like there's no reading this stuff. I mean, I should say I know from experience they do read them because I've gotten the nice rejection from a New Yorker personally.
Yeah.
And that's a nice feeling. But I just, you know, that happens once, twice, and then you're like, they're just not going to publish.
No, they're not.
They're just going to give me like a back pat, you know, and they're not going to actually publish it.
They don't.
And that's just kind of, it's rough because it's hard work reading all that slush. I get it.
For sure.
But that's how
Can't imagine how much there must be.
That's how you find some new voice or some new exciting thing. You know, that's how you do it.
But I don't think that's the goal. I don't think the goal is to find an exciting. new voice. And maybe that's part of it too. It's like, is there, did these kind of places, whether you want to call them gatekeepers or whatever, is there no longer any excitement over like the discovery of the new
You would think
writer?
so, yeah.
It doesn't feel, yeah, I don't know.
Have we depressed each other?
Maybe a little bit. Should we go back to, let's return to someone who brings a smile to both of our faces. Our good friend Jameer Nazir. We had some corrections regarding him and Granta
yes.
and the award-winning story. Yeah.
Speaking of Alice from Queens, who I also love and respect.
Yeah, I love her.
She's a lot of fun. We got into a debate. I wanted to call it a debate. She rather throttled me and gave me a what for on this topic. But I still hold a certain corner of my argument. But what she points out is this story was awarded by the Commonwealth Prize people. It was not awarded by Granta. So in our last show, we made a statement as if we made fun of we had some fun talking about this, as if Granta had done the whole thing. In fact, you can't really lay the majority of the blame here at Granta's doorstep.
Right.
The editor, Thomas Meany, is quite a respected and serious figure. They publish a lot of good stuff. Granta is still a great magazine. And I've heard tell that there was general resistance from his editors against these stories. They just didn't want to publish them. Now, that would suggest that Granta, the paper magazine, which is what people should subscribe to and read because it's good, is strongly linked to the online website. Now you would think, oh, of course it is. Why would you say that? Well, one of the points that Alice was making was the Granta website is really not part of the paper magazine, or it's somehow not as relevant as you would think. It's not directly connected or something. I'm not really quite clear on what she meant by that. My thinking was, look, you would have to, I would leave my job or throw myself onto a fire before I would publish this story. I was like, so any editor who did this, it doesn't matter that it's AI. I don't really care, like AI, whatever. If you read the story, you can tell within a sentence or two what you're dealing with, and it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
So that was my point to her was, look, anybody who publishes this deserves a kind of a lot of trouble from the public and from people like us, because it's really bad and it's really kind of inexcusable. But her point was, good old Sigrid Rousing, who owns Granta, also owns the Commonwealth Prize. So the idea here is that Commonwealth, I don't mean own, but she's some kind of investor background money woman. And so she's like, oh, well, my little stories won the Commonwealth Prize, and so I want you to just go put these on the website. Do it right now.
Right.
And so I don't know what her accent is, but I'm imagining it's Germanish.
I hope it's that.
I think she's like Norwegian or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Miss Rousing, this sucks. And she's like, just do it or no money, basically. That's what I'm guessing happened. So Thomas was like, look, I'm going to lunch. You publish it. Don't let me see it. I'm angry about this. That's something like this happened. So Granta can't be blamed for the whole thing. It's the Commonwealth Prize, and it's Sigrid Rousing. Thomas Meany, very respected and respectable. Granta, still a great magazine. But this is part of the problem, I think, also that you and I are talking about, where it feels like a sort of amalgamation of forces is like kind of militating and coordinating to make things difficult for us. One of them is AI. Another one is this kind of preference for kind of thin language.
Yeah.
And, there's just all kinds of facets to it that I think it's just where we are kind of in history. My thinking is that we're going to bounce back at some point, and there's going to be like a really popular couple of novels or writers who are doing, whether they're American or not, I don't know. And it's going to be like, we're going to see, because you can't get much lower than we are, if I'm honest with you.
Right.
Like you read these stories and you're like, these people publish Cheever? Like they published John Cheever? And you're looking through it and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Cat person? Come on.
I know. God.
So that's all. That concludes my sort of correction for Granta. I just want them to know that, because the reason we have to issue this correction, my friend, is we are getting close to 6,000 downloads of The Insufferable Bastards.
Would you say that we are the voice of a generation, or maybe a voice of a generation?
Of a generation? I'd say we're the voice of our generation. I'd say that.
Yeah.
But,
elder millennial.
How do you feel about 6,000 people soon enough? By tomorrow or the next day, it'll be 6,000.
I'm so excited.
Your mellifluous voice. Listening to Alana's pronunciations on literature and culture. How do you feel about this?
I like to be heard. I'm someone who likes to be heard. So I am tickled. I really didn't expect this many people would be listening. So it's really exciting. I guess we're striking a chord.
And I have to say, I'm very grateful to everybody who's listening.
Me too.
I did not expect to get that. 6,000 downloads puts us in the top 1% of new podcasts. Most podcasts get 25 or 30 downloads in their first 7 days.
Wait, you have to say it in a Bernie Sanders voice. The 1%, the 1% of the 1%.
I am once again asking you to donate to The Insufferable Bastards. They are the 1% of podcasts. We got over 3,000 in our first week, which is like really, really good. And now we're up to 6,000, and it's not even been a month.
It's crazy.
We might hit 7,000 by 30 days. And I want to thank everybody who's listening. It's really been cool that it's gotten around so quickly and people are checking us out.
I am very happy about this, and it's very encouraging, and it definitely makes us want to continue. But yeah, like, so what do you how do you feel, I guess, like meta level, what made you want to join the ranks of podcasters?
Podcastery?
Yeah.
We were having fun chatting, you and I.
Yeah.
You and me. And we had a lot of funny discussions and opinions. Mm-hmm. And we just were like, our opinions are good. Our opinions are better than other people's opinions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it would be funny if we could have fun in public doing just this.
Exactly, yeah.
And so as we got into that discussion, I thought, it's not just, I don't know. It feels like part of the reason we were having fun chatting is like we were relaxed about each other's views. And
yes.
We're not staking our personality and identity in our preferences. Like, I really like Cormac McCarthy. I think Blood Meridian is a classic. You disagree. And you and I make fun of Cormac McCarthy. Mm-hmm. You've made fun of him in front of my face.
Cormac overrated.
Overrated. We have a discussion about that in like a later episode. I make fun of Larry McMurtry, whom I have not read.
Why let that stop you?
I read a few pages. I get it. But it's just not for me. I'm not going to read a book like that. But I still take a few quotes and I exaggerate.
Right.
And we've had other kinds of differences there. But the thing was, I really want people to feel comfortable putting their identities in other places. You know, maybe their family, maybe their philosophy, their religion.
Yeah.
All of it together. Of course, literature and art is important, but I also just would like people to quit bringing so much high temperature to the things they love. It's really not important. It's not important that someone says, you know what, that book sucked. Yeah. It's just not good. And here's my opinion on it. I would like to give people kind of the permission to feel that they can just have open disagreements and then go back inside the bar and finish their drink together and have a laugh, because what's all the hullabaloo about? Why do we have to get so, I just had a discussion with a guy today who was like, you reading Saul Bellow, he was a racist. And I'm like, so what? Right. Let's say he was like, I don't think that he was, I think he's racist in the way that old people are racist. They have these presumptions.
Of course. Yes. Yes.
I don't think he's a KKK member.
No.
But let's say he was. His books are still good. There's nothing that I can do about that. You know? And there's no reason for you to I don't know. It feels like people for the last 10 years, 15 years, people have been taking it all very personally.
Yes.
And so for me, it's like, I want to communicate that you can have a fun discussion about books. It's not that important.
Right.
You know, they're very
Right.
important to me, but it's like the discussion itself, the disagreement itself is not, it's not a challenge to your very identity. You know what I mean?
No, it's just fun. It's just fun.
Yeah. It gets you
Like,
thinking.
right. Like, I don't know. I think people associate themselves so much with what they consume, with what they take
Yes.
in and what their tastes are. And yes, it's like what you're saying, like pinning your whole identity on these things and having it become this referendum on who you are as a person and on your morality. And, yeah, like the idea that if you're reading Saul Bellow, there's something defective about your value system, or,
Mhm.
it's absurd. And we should be able to, like, as you said, disagree on these things without it becoming attacks on the person's very soul, right? So yeah, I find that really refreshing to be able to do that. And I think also, like, we talked about the idea of well, let's just say the thing, right? Because I
Mhm.
think because of this climate where so much is at stake when it comes to people's preferences and tastes, then there's also fear about expressing your opinion and your views on things, because you don't
Yes.
want to be condemned as you're a this or a that or whatever. And so I think part of also what we're interested in doing is just saying the thing that we feel like probably a lot of us are thinking and believe and know to be true, but are perhaps, or have been reluctant to express. And so that's just really satisfying to do. So,
Yes. And it was
yes.
some of the most exciting reading for me was like coming upon someone like James Walcott or these other critics who were just like, they would come out of the blue and say something about a writer that you had always kind of felt
Hmm.
was true, um, and couldn't quite articulate. But these are very intelligent, kind of no nonsense kind of people, and you have to allow the space for expression for that,
Yeah.
so that people can feel free to kind of say how they feel and what they believe, because ultimately it is subjective. Like all these opinions that you and I have, like I'm joking about, we have the best opinions, obviously, but like
Right. I'm not.
it's ultimately, yeah, it's ultimately like it's irrefutably subjective thing. Your criticism of books and stuff. But the reason why it's fun to do is that there is some limit there. Like
Yeah.
AI touches on the limit, you know?
Yeah.
Like people are
Hmm.
like, I'm not going to read AI. This is crap. And then they'll go and read like some other kind of romantasy junk. And you're like, well, what's the difference between that and like this AI stuff? Like, isn't
Right.
there some kind of gray area? And that's what critics do. That's what sort of thinking consumers of art do, is they try to tussle around in that gray area and try to come to some conclusions. And they're always going to be kind of subjective, but you're trying to do the best you can, and ultimately realizing that the solar system is going to collapse into a neutron star. All these books are going to be burned in space. We're all going to pass away. The seas are going to boil and
Right.
evaporate. And like it's really not this like make your case, read what you love, make your case, have fun,
Yeah.
and then die. Because like what
And then
else? What
and
do we
then
really?
die.
And then we either love each other or die, as Auden said. So like
Oh,
it's really more, but there is a kind of desire, a kind of idealism underneath it all that
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
I, I do kind of personally strive for and kind of hope for in the reading and in the writing that I do. As grumpy as I may sound, because somebody the other day told me to cut it out and stop being so negative on books.
Never stop. No, nurture the contrarian impulse. That's like, when everyone's falling all over themselves about something, to just be like, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
about this one.
But how
Um,
do you feel? Do you have like how do you feel about the early success of this amazing show? And what's like do you
I
have like
I think
a
it's
goal or
no, just I want to keep doing it. I want to hear back from people who have listened, because I see that we've gotten so many downloads, and I'm just curious what the reactions are, like what people are interested in hearing us talk about. I want to have some interaction because I'm really curious, and I'm very encouraged by the fact that people are checking this out, which I think does just speak to like a lot of what we've been saying, that people are interested in, I don't know. I don't want to say excellence, right? Not like excellent, but just like people are interested in like reading deeply and thinking deeply and discussing, and like, and maybe it's scratching an itch that needs to be scratched, and there aren't that many places that are really delving in.
Yes.
So, if we're filling any kind of gap there, then I'm really delighted, and I do want to hear more about what people are thinking of it. So
have you read this novel called Pedro Páramo?
I have. I read it, I want to say last year. And it really kind of just washed over me. I didn't have anyone to discuss it with, and I found it very disorienting. So it's pretty blurry in my mind. But what did you think of it?
Gosh, that sounded like your first experience with ecstasy or something.
It kind of was. No, like it feels like it does.
You're like, I was disoriented. I was scared.
I was scared. My heart was racing. I was really thirsty. I loved everybody. No, it does feel kind of a little like in a cloud of weed smoke, my recollections of it. Not that I was smoking weed at the time, but yeah, it has that quality. What did you think of it?
I just read it because it was actually mentioned in the Guardian list that we made fun of also.
Yes.
And somebody, I think at least one person, but maybe two, put it as their number one greatest book of all time. And I thought,
do you remember who?
No, I don't remember her name. All the people on that list, all the people on that, I can recall it for you. I can look it up for you, but
whatever.
All the people on that list, maybe 90% of them, I had no idea who they were.
Yeah.
So this was some writer. It was a woman. All of her choices were kind of odd to me, but her number one was this Pedro Páramo, and then somebody else mentioned it in their list. It was pretty high in their list. And look, it's kind of interesting. I think people should read it. It's considered the beginning of magical realism.
Yes.
In fact, there's an intro in the new edition where Gabriel Garcia Marquez talks about memorizing this book. He said he came across this book in the 60s or whatever. He loved it so much.
Yeah.
That he read it twice in one night and then memorized it because he had read it so many more times. I mean, I think people say these things. They don't really. I mean, whatever. He knows the book back and forth.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's major. Now, my first thinking, and by the way, the author's name is Juan Rulfo. Rulfo. My first thinking was like, this isn't magical realism. It's like a surrealism or something.
Yes,
like magical realism. Yeah, right. Like magical realism is like, I jumped on like the Salman Rushdie example is like I jumped on the magic carpet, and then the the way it carried me and how the air felt and what the movement was like it's these you're making this magical stuff real. That's why it's called magical realism. This is like it is like an acid trip.
Yeah,
it's grounded in reality. But Pedro Páramo, I mean, I didn't know. I was disoriented. I don't know what was dreaming. The narrator dies halfway through.
The narrator dies very, maybe even sooner than halfway through. And then you're like, oh, who's telling me the story now? And
there's like ghosts and they're talking. They're buried underground and they're talking from under the earth for a while.
Right. Yes.
There's
I do remember that.
It's going back and forth in time. There's ghosts. I don't know. I could not make sense of this book. But that's one of the reasons you might like to read it, because it is very disorienting. It's kind of a fun experience. But honestly, it was not my favorite. It was not my favorite thing. And I have no idea why someone would say this was the best novel of the last, 100 years or whatever.
It's kind of hard to imagine it being like a favorite book. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, okay, the problem must be with me. Like, I must be missing something. And we were talking about it, and we were like, are we just like insufficiently Mexican to understand this? Like, because the
We're
writer's
fucking gringos,
Mexican.
man.
I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of culturally meaningful things here and references that are completely going over our heads. I'm not
And
even
the translator-
Catholic, so
The translate, you're not?
no.
I'm just kidding.
Shocking.
The translator put a note in here, like an afterword, and he talks about how even just the names, like a Pedro Paramo, apparently Pedro is Peter. Paro means like wasteland. Paramo means, so his name is Peter Wasteland.
Oh, I didn't know. Yes, I didn't know that. Yeah.
And I love getting the translations of foreign names, like in Berlin Alexanderplatz, the guy's name is Bieberkopf, which means beaver brains. Which kind of makes you think about him in a completely different way.
Yeah. I read that book last year too.
What did you think? That's another one that's pretty German expressionism, pretty wild.
I struggled, honestly. Yeah. I really did. And then I also similarly felt stupid. I was like, I'm stupid for not being able to like, some books just make me like, I just feel that way. I'm like, I can't, like, when I'm really having a hard time with them, and I'm like, the problem is me and I'm dumb. So that's how it made me feel. Pedro Paramo made me feel that way a little bit. Yeah.
I really don't think anyone should feel that way. I mean, sometimes when there's complications and misunderstandings and you're unclear on things, it's really intentional,
Yeah.
So you do have to put in a little effort, but that's true of a lot of books.
Yeah.
I wrote a review when the Berlin Alexanderplatz was reissued. I wrote a review of it, and I said the same thing. It's like it's a wonderful book. It's actually an important book. He actually wrote it before the rise of Hitler, and it is really interesting because he gives you like this window into the pre-Hitler Germany and how kind of, I don't know, ugly and kind of vile a lot of the culture was, and the fact that he focused on this perpetrator, just getting out of prison and his journey through Berlin at that time in 1928. Really, Alfred Doblin, amazing kind of historical and great book. But in the review, I also noted it's just not going to be a lot of people's cup of tea,
right?
Because it's like it is disorienting. It's a bit confusing. You have to figure out what the hell is going on, but at least it's linear,
Yeah.
In Paramo, in Peter Wasteland, you're like, am I in the future? Am I in the past?
Right.
Who am I talking to?
Right.
Who's narrating?
Are they alive or dead?
Are they alive or dead? Is it a dream?
Yeah.
But the real problem I had with the book, and this might be a translation issue, but I just want to read quickly a couple of sentences. One sentence. This is early in the book, page 6. This woman says something to him, and he says, I noticed that her voice was made of human chords, that her mouth had teeth and a tongue that would engage and disengage as she spoke, and that her eyes were just like those of anyone else alive on earth. And I thought, what? So this person has chords, teeth, tongue, eyes. She's a person. I don't know what to do with this. And again, like you, I'm like, am I missing something? Because he's not describing an individual. He's describing anything you could say about any person on earth.
Right. But so I guess I'm like, is he suggesting that she's not human?
Maybe.
That she resembles one, but she's not. I don't know. That's my
maybe.
That's the best. So that's kind of how I was making my way through the book. I was like, so she's dead or she's not, Yeah. It was tough.
It takes place during this revolutionary period in Mexican history. The translator notes we're missing a lot of stuff there, but go ahead.
Yeah. A student I had in one of my fiction classes was originally from Colombia, and he told me they were assigned this in high school, and I was like, whoa. Like that it was very part of the standard curriculum, and I was kind of amazed at the idea of high school students wrapping their heads around this.
And I wonder in what context they taught it, because you have to I wouldn't know where to start. I would have to go back and do a bunch of background reading. I don't know.
Yeah.
there must be a lot in this book about Mexican history
Yeah.
that we don't have our little hands around,
Yeah. Yeah.
But is it maybe it's an important thing to read. It does have some good qualities, things that I liked about it. It's not long. And it's kind of an important marker in like Latin literature
Yeah.
and kind of Latin literary history. So I think for that reason, it's definitely something that people should read. If it's my favorite book, I would definitely say no. Not
Right,
even
but
reaching the top 100, 200.
Agreed. But I liked, I mean, yeah, it was, I think it was an interesting experience anyway. And it was very, I guess, a druggy experience. But I think particularly if you're interested in like any of the magical realists or Gabriel Garcia Marquez, as someone who's apparently major influence, perhaps it's worth a read for that. And then if anyone, I guess thousands of listeners, if any of you want to give us your take on Pedro Paramo, please do. What are we missing? What are we missing?
Yeah. What do we not know here?
Yeah. Yeah.
How are we wrong? Tell
Yeah.
us straight up that we're stupid and bad and wrong. We welcome it. We
We're
welcome your
ready.
hatred. But another short book I read, I want to mention really quick, was William Styron's Darkness Visible.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I want to just put in a word for William Styron. Great writer.
Yeah.
I haven't heard his name in years.
No one talks about him anymore.
No one talks about him. But he was once considered in the lineage of Faulkner.
Yeah.
Our next Faulkner. His great books were Confessions of Nat Turner and Lay Down in Darkness. I loved Nat Turner. I just got Lay Down in Darkness, which is his first book. It is, just reading the first few pages, it's a bygone style and very good.
Mm-hmm.
Published when he was 26.
Whoa.
Like Dickens wrote Pickwick he published it when he was 26. And you sometimes you see these and you're just like consumed with envy because you're like, I could not have gotten anywhere close to this at that age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, just a real American treasure that I don't hear anyone talk about anymore. And this book, Darkness Visible, is just a very short book. It's 80 pages. He talks about this kind of attack of depression that he had when he turned 60. Really worthwhile. You can read it in about 25 minutes. Really beautifully written and insightful on the experience of very significant depression, which I myself have had.
But it was, as you were talking, it was reminding me of, do you know the connection with Confessions of Nat Turner and James Baldwin?
James Baldwin. I mean, I know there was a big uproar about that book, but was James Baldwin might have been involved in that.
He very much encouraged Styron to write it. And, even then at the time, and it came out in 1967. And even at the time, there were these questions over who are you as a white author to tell this story. And Baldwin encouraged him to write it. And he was a big champion of the novel, but then there was a huge backlash when it came out.
There was.
Yeah.
I remember when I read that book, there was a paper or like a booklet it was like 10 Black writers respond to William Styron.
Yes, that's what mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, there was like a total uproar, fury about it. But it is a great book. I remember being completely just mesmerized by that book. It was an incredible piece of work. I just
find it fascinating, this question over the idea of like ownership of stories and who has the right to tell what sort of story. And I suppose I had been thinking of that as a kind of contemporary phenomenon, but obviously not. Right.
No.
Because, and so, but I wonder if that has any connection to why you don't hear much about Styron today.
I wonder. I don't know. Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. But that kind of thing was always around. In fact, it's very funny when you read writers from like the 30s complaining about, communists who were like literally in the Communist Party, and they were like, all these narrow-minded, pedantic pains in the ass telling me I can't write about struggling working people who are Chicano or black, and it's very amusing because you definitely make the links between the period. I feel like the period we're kind of moving away from the worst of the period that we're talking about, the woke wars, I call them.
Yeah.
Where it's like just this very confusing, like everybody's yelling at each other. But it was like, there's always some amount of that, I feel like, in the culture. And the thing is, you just have to keep trucking.
Yes.
You cannot, speak about being a secret optimist. Like, you cannot let that get you down and be like, people don't want to hear from me because I'm XYZ. I can't write this character because this character is XYZ. You have to just completely set all that aside, and you have to write the book that you want to read, or you have to enjoy the kind of literature that you want to enjoy. You cannot be swayed by this stuff. It's all fuzz. As important as it can seem, it's all just silly nonsense,
And it's, I think, just extremely counter to the creative process and like the imaginative process. In the class I was teaching the other day, it was our final class of the term, and I always talk. And it's a novel class, so I always talk about publishing. And one of my students was asking about sensitivity readers, and I tried to disguise the intensity of my hostility to that.
Why? Why did you disguise it?
Well, I don't want to alienate people, but I don't want to make anyone feel foolish or, but I was just like, what, like, why would you, and it was like, why are you thinking about that? And she was saying, well, my book has some like Latino characters in it. And I was like, yeah, but you're just trying to represent those characters, right? Like, not the entire peoples of, right? And, I don't know. She still kind of wanted someone to tell her she was doing okay with it. But to me, it's like, but if you're worrying about that, you're not thinking about the story and you're not thinking about the characters. You're anxious about how it's going to be received and if you're going to get in trouble. And like, that is completely counter to creativity.
Yeah. And you told her that?
No. I'm telling her now.
But why not? But why not?
I guess I wimped out. I don't know. I do have like a spiel. I do give a spiel often on this topic, but it just didn't feel like the exact right time for it. It was like our last class, we're kind of celebrating, and they wanted to talk about like finding agents and like contracts and like, like film options and like all this fun stuff. And I just didn't feel like giving a lecture on censorship and creative freedom at that particular time, but I'm doing it now. So.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that sentiment. I would say to your students and to whomever, like, that you may run up against this stuff. A lot of really important writers have established writers, new writers. You're going to have trouble, and you don't want to preempt and give yourself the trouble before it actually enters your life.
It's like pre-worrying.
Yes, exactly. I always say that to my wife. I'm like, we had some health issues with some family members, and it was perfectly legitimate to be like, what if this happens? But what if the test comes back and it's this? And my refrain is always, you don't have to worry until you know the information. You don't have to make yourself convinced of something that actually has not happened yet. Yeah. And in fact, in those cases, the test results came back and everything was fine.
Right.
So we could have had 2 weeks or 3 weeks of just like abject worry and anxiety.
It's agony to be in that
and
position.
Total anxiety, agony. Yeah. And it's also agony to sit there and try to write a book where you're like, are they going to be mad because I'm writing this character? Are they going to be mad because I'm using this kind of language? Are they going to be mad because you just have to write the book that you want to read?
Yeah.
You just have to. If somebody wants to, I don't even think these. The sensitivity readers, isn't that just a YA thing? I don't know. It's like, I don't know how required it is. I don't know how important it actually is. Ultimately,
I wasn't asked to do that whatsoever. In my one limited experience, I was not. That didn't come up.
I think most people are not. I think there are some YA categories that maybe the publisher suggests it or something. Yeah. I don't think it's all books get sensitivity read.
No, I don't.
But
think
anyway,
so.
do do you want to write a great book? You want to write the book that you want to read? Then you just have to do it. And then you can make changes later if you want to. But if you're bogged down in this agony, it's like, why even be an artist? Go do something else,
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, if you want to, your experience publishing your book?
Sure.
I'm curious. I'm curious about how this happened, your experience with it, your thoughts on it.
Okay, let's see. It was a very long and winding road. Now, some people, they have an agent. Their agent takes their book to publishers. Within 2 weeks, there's a deal, right? And I know people who have had this experience. That was not my experience. So first of all,
rather rare.
I guess, I don't know. It depends on the book.
2 weeks.
I've heard tell, and they're competing, and they're, and you have offers, and it's lovely. Maybe one day we'll know what that's like. But so my experience was, I finished this novel. My first novel is called The Nobodies, and I finished it, I don't remember what year. Maybe it was 2019. And I did my own revision, based on what I thought, and I'm in a couple different writing groups and things that they had said. And actually I took this class that was like full novel. We all read each other's entire novels and gave feedback, and it was pretty helpful. At least some of the feedback was. So anyway, I started querying agents, and the way I found mine was through a connection, which, as it turns out, is the best way to find an agent. Just cold querying. It's very, very hard. It takes a long time. So I had a friend who was represented by this agent. She said, I think he might be interested. And he's someone I never would have thought to query on my own, because when you look at his profile, it looks like he represents primarily nonfiction. So I never would have found him otherwise.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, so she connected us. He really responded to it. He wanted to represent it. I got the offer from him, and then I went back to the other agents who were considering it, and I was like, hey, I have an offer. Does any of you guys want to make me an offer? And one other agent did, but I decided to go with him because I'm like, he's the one who took the leap, and I feel like this other agent is just like, oh, someone else wants it? Let me, So anyway, and I really liked what he had to say about it. I felt like he got it. And I liked that he, told me that he was going to be in it for the long haul. Because one of the things I asked was like, look, if all the major publishers, if the big five at the time, if they all pass on it, will you keep going? Will you send it to smaller presses and indies and whatever? And he said yes. So I was like, okay, because I just wanted to get it out in the world. I don't care if it's with the biggest, right? So, okay, so then he took it out on submission. First round of submission, nothing. No one wanted it. And all of the publishers were giving me different reasons why. So there was no unity to the responses where I could go, oh, okay, clearly this isn't working. Let me go try to address this, right? So I was very lost, and it was really disappointing. Then what happened was I won this fellowship through the Center for Fiction in New York. And this was something that I had been applying to, I think, literally 5 years in a row before I finally won it. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything that I've learned from my experiences is that you have to have a delusional level of perseverance. You have to just okay, no, I'm going to try again next year, and just keep.
Totally agree.
So anyway,
totally agree.
Yeah, right. That's what it is. Because you are really.
You have to have total, absolute faith.
Yes.
In yourself.
Yes.
Above all odds.
Above all the odds. And because really you're looking
Edward Albee said something like that. Some student of his was like, how do we keep doing this without getting arrogant and hubristic? And he goes, hubris is required.
That's so good. That's so good. I had a professor who told us, that you should approach this with neither hope nor despair. But then he quickly said, but I always approach it with one or the other. It's always like, but But so part of the fellowship was the opportunity to work one-on-one with a professional editor, and which is something that ordinarily costs thousands of dollars to get like a full developmental edit on your book. And they paired me with the perfect editor for me and for this book. And she was fantastic. I'll give her a shout out. Her name is Meg Story, and the last name is Story with an E. If you were looking for an editor for your manuscripts, check her out. She was fantastic. And I took her.
Is it like megstory.com?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is. If you just Google her, it'll come up. But with her guidance, with the things that she saw in the book, which not prescriptive edits, but just very perceptive, I did a major overhaul of the book. I think I spent 4 or 5 months doing that. And then my agent took it back out on submission. And then that time we did find a taker, which was Blackstone, which is a smaller, not tiny, but not, one of the big 5, obviously. I guess they're considered like an indie publisher. They used to be exclusively audio. They just did audiobooks. And then I think back in like 2015 or so, they started doing, print and traditional publishing. And so,
that must have been very exciting. You must have been through the roof.
I was so excited. It was really awesome. It was like,
so you worked on the book for a couple of years. Then you had this cool agent. You did some edits, which was tough, but you got through it.
Yeah.
Then Blackstone picks it up.
Yes.
This is what year?
Yeah. So then it went quickly. So they picked it up in like late 2021, and it came out in June of 2022. So that was relatively fast. I was surprised that they were going to put it out that soon, but I was like, great.
That is fast.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's partly a tribute to Meg and the edits that I did with her guidance, because it really didn't need that much editing at that point. The edits that I then got.
When did you get your first 7-figure check in the mail?
Oh, LOL. Any day now.
But seriously though, what were like the things, so it's published, it's out there, you're enjoying, what are you enjoying about all of this? People are, you're doing interviews or people are reading it, or tell me like how that was after it came out.
When it came out, what was really wonderful was the book launch party. Which I had at the Center for Fiction, because I had a relationship with them at that point. And I've just the way I was supported by people that I'm, close to, but then also people that I would not have expected would show up to support me. It was really extremely moving. And I felt like, Jesus, I'm a really lucky person. So that was beautiful. It was beautiful. Signing books for the first time in my life was such a thrill. To sign my name on something. That was fucking cool. I loved the process of doing the cover art. I really enjoyed that. And I really liked the way Blackstone did it. They gave me a lot of input. And they paired me with this graphic designer, and like we talked, and then she came back with like a mood board, and then we talked about that. And then what she came up with was, I thought, excellent.
Oh, that's great.
It's a really striking
cover. Shout out to
cover.
Blackstone Press.
Yeah, it's a really striking cover. I mean, to be real, like disappointment was the publicity. And I'm not necessarily like pointing fingers or blaming anyone, because I think it's just so many books come out every year, and it's very, very difficult to get attention for yours. But it was not like really reviewed anywhere, and I was pretty bummed. A lot of like the kind of appearances I did, I arranged myself,
Oh, okay.
Which
is totally common. I mean, even
very
big
common.
Books, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the numbers on like really well reviewed books or critically acclaimed and or really popular books, and the sales are just and the things they had to do kind of behind the scenes, you would never guess that it was that way.
Authors are really expected to do so much themselves now, and I don't know how it was
Yeah.
back in the day. I get the sense that back in the day, you know, the editor, like at the publisher, worked with you a lot more intensely, and they're like, okay, kid, you're going on a book tour, and like, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's probably kind of fantasy too, but
They threw cash at you in the
yeah,
street
here
on the
you go,
train, and they're like, every city, every
yeah,
major city in the United States.
right. They spoke in that voice that you use at the beginning of your New York radio on it. But so yeah, it's not like you're expected to do a lot of the legwork, and like, you know, it's a completely different fucking skill set from like being a good writer. It does not mean that you're going to be able to do any of this shit effectively. So
Yeah.
that was challenging and frustrating, but I don't know. I feel like my thing was like, I just want to get this book out in the world. I want to get a book out in the world that I can stand behind, that I feel good about. I'm not looking for X, Y, or Z. I don't have any particular expectations of like fortune or fame or anything, you know, along those lines. I just want to have this thing out in the world. I want it to be an object. I want it to be something that people can read, and that it will be there. And I did that.
And you did
and
that.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
But, yeah. And the other day, someone sent me a text of a person on the train reading the book and apparently,
oh, that's great.
She said out loud, "I love this book." And I was like, is this fucking real? Like, are you making this up? But they said, I mean, I don't know if she actually said that, but they did send me a picture of someone on the train reading the book. So that was really cool.
Wow. No, that's really wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that can hardly ever happen, you know? That's really fantastic.
I know. I was
she's
like,
on the train and she's like, I love this book.
Right? And I was like, is this like a deep fake? Is this AI? Like, are you pulling my leg? But they're apparently not. Yeah. So that's
great.
that. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? It doesn't change anything about your life. It really doesn't.
Oh yeah.
You're still.
What did you expect it to change?
I guess I thought it might lead to more opportunities in a certain way. Like, I guess I thought it might be a little easier to now do other things, and or it might just like smooth the path a little bit to like, now you can get some stories published or essays published, or perhaps get some like teaching work at the university level or blah blah. And I haven't found that to be any easier than it was before I published the book. So maybe if it was really big, maybe if it had been really big and widely reviewed and more, you know, maybe then. But it's like pretty obscure right now, so it hasn't done those things for me.
Okay, well, I think it's good for. I imagine we have some writers listening to us, people working on their books. I think it's good to understand that it is a kind of a crapshoot, whether you're successful or not. It's a complex experience, and it's just not going to be what you think. There's going to be ups and downs. And even if you do have, let's say you have your dreams come true, there's going to be bad sides to all that stuff. You're not going to be making as much money as you think. You're not going to be, who knows what. It's going to be something, you know?
Yeah.
So it's good. I think it's just good to kind of talk about the realities of it a little bit.
Yeah. And like, you know, I look at it like, okay, I'm going to keep writing books, and perhaps a subsequent book will be a little more widely read, and perhaps people will go, oh, what else does this person have? And it will always be there. If there is in the future some curiosity, right? Like that book it exists in the world. It will be there. So who knows? Life is long. What other platitudes can I say? The path is not straight. But all those things are true, right? So,
do you have a second book that you're working on?
Oh, gee, thank you for asking. Funny thing that you should ask. I have a second book locked and loaded, baby, but I haven't found a home for it yet. So, you know.
Okay. Do you read or memorize poetry? Do you write poetry? How do you feel about poetry?
I love poetry. I read poetry. If I happen to memorize it, it's just by chance, not necessarily intentionally. I wrote poetry as a teen, and
Mhm.
I thought back then that I might be a poet, and it
Can you
was
read
not.
us one of those poems now?
Hell no. But it was not meant to be. How about you? Do you write? You do write poetry, don't you?
Yeah, but it's not something I share.
Right. But
But I
you're.
keep what I do is I keep a commonplace book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a commonplace book is something that everyone really should do. Um, if you're into poetry or not, or it really doesn't matter. If you're a reader really of anything, and there are just things that you want to keep, kind of things that pop out at you from short stories, books, even the newspaper. Maybe you overhear something on the train sometimes, on the radio or something. But often it does have a lot to do with poetry and writing down poems that you admire and want to get back to. And it's just a notebook.
Yeah.
And you throw those things in there. Maybe you want to keep in mind some speeches from Shakespeare. Maybe there was a really nice turn of phrase you heard. You want to remember it. You saw this paragraph in a book. You just, you write it down in there. And
Yeah.
that way you could kind of refer back to it because you'd be amazed, especially as you get older. I used to have a really good memory. As you get older, especially when you have a child, your memory is the first thing to abandon you.
No kidding.
Things get
It's
harder.
so true. It's so true. Yeah. I didn't know this term, but you explained it to me, a commonplace book. And I realized I do have one, but it's just a document on my computer that I call Great Lines. And I was just jumping, that's what I called it.
That's
And
a
I
great
was
title for it. Great Lines.
Great Lines. And I was just dumping stuff in there. Right. And it was, just anything that struck me. Sometimes it's an entire poem. Sometimes it's a paragraph. Sometimes it's just a couple sentences. But I do often turn to it when I'm writing and I feel like I need a little juice, and I just open it and read through it. And it gives me that.
But if you, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. But if you think back to like before mass media, before industrialization, what did people have? There were some books around. They had some paper. There was no other way to do this.
Yeah.
To take something in, and just think about music. Like I happen to love Mahler. I love Mahler's music.
Mm-hmm.
But when would I have heard this stuff?
Right.
Without, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to go make an effort to and then you have to try to remember everything that you just heard, and you have to find a way to absorb it and think about it. Maybe you'll hear it again some other time in your life, but a lot of times not.
Right.
You might hear the most beautiful thing. Just think about that. You might go to the symphony in like the 17th century, and you might hear the most beautiful thing you've ever heard, and then never hear it
and
again.
Then never.
You might cry tears.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you really imagine?
That's like the it's like the Japanese concept of wabi sabi, right? Like the transience of beauty, and that you only have it for.
I haven't heard this. I don't know wabi sabi.
Wabi sabi, yeah. It's often connected to the cherry blossoms, right? And their transience, and that so just that you can't hold on to it, you can't listen to it again, you can't, right? Yeah.
And so there was a big emphasis in school and in general on memorization. So people would memorize poems, and the way they did this, and I think we still have John Milton's Commonplace Book and all these other great historic writers. The way they did this was with a commonplace book.
Mm-hmm.
So you would just jot down those poems, And I think doing that, have you ever, I don't know, met a journalist or heard somebody recall some story or even recall something in a book that they're writing that's like 30 years old, and it's like, how would they have that level of detail?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's because they either have commonplace books, aka notes, and this just kind of helps their memory. So even if you're not actually using the commonplace book, you're more prepared for memorization and having improving your memory. Because I do think you can improve your memory by focusing on it just a little. You don't even have to do that much.
I think that's true. There's all kinds of exercises you can do to improve recall, and I mean, definitely writing it down, no question.
Writing it down, at least writing it down, because poems they're just special little literary things, And if something really hits you, that's a really kind of special thing. And you may not know why, but writing it down can begin the process of you kind of possessing it in your soul a little bit. And maybe you memorize it or you don't, but I mean, my suggestion would always be to memorize it. I try to do that. Depending on the poem, obviously I don't memorize all the poems that I like, but it is, it's a way to get closer to the writing. It's a way to get closer to the poet. And it has a kind of, there's a kind of a bias against memorization these days, but especially in the educational setting. But it has a kind of magic to it.
It's always associated with the word rote, right? Like rote memorization. Like it's this this meaningless. I mean, and it can be, right? Like there's the like memorization of facts for an exam, and then you immediately sort of purge it, and it doesn't stay with you at all. But I think what you're talking about is something really different. I remember my grandmother was told us about how she had to memorize at least part of Evangeline, which I think is Longfellow, like an epic poem, but it begins like, "This is the forest primeval." I don't know. It's old timey stuff. My grandmother had to memorize it, and it stayed with her into her old age. So
the whole thing. She memorized the whole thing.
It couldn't have been, because it's quite a long poem. Probably it's like at least the first, few pages.
I had a professor that had us memorize parts of Paradise Lost, and I still remember.
Yeah.
Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world.
Ooh.
And you had to get up and recite it.
Oh no.
And it was, it was tough.
Yeah.
But I think I did pretty good. Because I just had a good memory, like before up to the age of 30, man. My memory was rocking.
Yeah.
And over the last like 5-10 years, I mean, really the last 5 years, my son.
Yes, I was going to say what aligns perfectly with that. The last 5 years, yeah. But I think it'll get better when they aren't. They're going to need us less and less, and which is sad. But it also means you can return to certain things too.
Yeah. But one poet I've been thinking about and jotting down in my commonplace book is Trumbull Stickney.
Tell us a bit about Trumbull, because I had never heard of this poet before.
Say that name 10 times fast.
That's
Trumbull
quite a
Stickney.
name. Quite a name.
He was indeed American. That name kind of feels foreign, but he was an American guy. Went to Harvard. Died in 1904, I think, 1905, something like that. 30 years old. He was mainly an academic and also a poet, published some books of poetry. He was known as being part of the so-called Harvard pessimists, whatever this was. But he was kind of a formalist. The Harvard pessimist poets, I don't know. It was an interesting time for poetry. I mean, Theodore Roosevelt was president. The Russo-Japan War was going on a year later. And then this poor guy dies. So, but he wrote some, do you find that a lot of poets, like if you really love them, a lot of their poetry actually isn't really for you? It's like maybe the 10%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Walt Whitman, everybody talks about Walt Whitman, and I'm like, man, a lot of these poems I can do without a lot of this stuff. I mean, the good stuff is really good.
I do love Walt, but for sure.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, because they're, because they're probably, I think in most cases, the poets are producing more of them. And it makes me think of when I was in high school, I took a photography class, and like, this was, old school, like not digital, right? Like on film, an old school like SLR camera, and you would take a roll of film and you'd print out the contact sheets where you could see each image, like a small little box on this piece of paper. And I remember and I would ask my teacher, like, most of these are crap. Is that normal? And she's like, 1 or 2 out of a roll. Like, that's it. Right. And so I feel like it's like that. It's like that with poetry, at least for me. 1 or 2 out of a roll.
Yeah, I mean, if you can have a career where you write one good book or like a couple of good poems or make one good movie,
done.
You've done it.
You did it.
You can. I mean, there's a very rare Dickens Shakespeare thing that happens where it's like hit after hit.
Yeah.
But a lot of really important, great writers really overachieved maybe once or twice in their lives.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
Get out there, folks. Read some poems.
Yeah.
Try to memorize and start your little commonplace book, whether it's on your computer or, I use a paper notebook, but
or you could
doesn't
just do,
matter.
or you
On
could
your
just do
phone, maybe
great
that's convenient.
lines and have been
I
keeping
love that
one.
title.
Great lines. I'm
Great
gonna
lines.
now I'm gonna rename it my commonplace book, and
I was thinking of renaming mine Great Lines. I really like your title. It's
one
way
of those
better.
sounds a little more sophisticated.
Because it's like, maybe it's for movies, maybe it's your friend of yours who has some funny pun or something.
I
It's,
do,
it's great
and in
lines. They're all great lines.
fact, greatlines.docx does include a quote from a friend of mine because it just really struck me, and so why not? But yeah, I think
There's a greatlines.com.
No, .docx on my computer. That's
your
file.
document. Oh, I thought it was like there was some public forum and your friend got quoted.
No, my personal Great Lines. That's the file extension.
Oh yeah, no, of course. I fully expect to be in Great Lines at some point.
I mean, it's all you. It's all you. So yeah, go out there and memorize a poem. And hey, maybe, like send us a recording of you reading the poem. One of you 6,000. Why not?
Yeah, send us your great poets, your great recitations. And I don't know. Some terrible endings.
And we will listen with great interest. So we would like to thank our listeners and our team, Literary and Media, Arthur Duffy and Kurt Kilpatrick, and our producer, Eric Janikis. And now, Live Blindly and Upon the Hour by Trumbull Stickney.
Live blindly and upon the hour. The Lord, who was the future, died full long ago. Knowledge, which is the past, is folly. Go, poor child, be not to thyself a board. Around thine earth sun-winged winds do blow, and planets roll. The meteor draws his sword, the rainbow breaks his seven-colored cord, and the long strips of river silver flow. Awake, give thyself to the lovely hours. Drinking their lips, catch the dream in flight, about their fragile hair's aerial gold. Thou art divine, thou livest, as of old. Apollo springing naked to the light, and all his island shivered into flowers.